Year by year, adventure touring motorcycles get more and more complicated, and the best example of this is the Ducati Multistrada 1200. Don't get me wrong, it's an absolutely wonderful motorcycle, probably the best in the class, but to ride it the way it's meant to be ridden, it needs more sensors and electronics than NASA owns. However, Ducati does have a solution for those who would like their adventure tourers to be a bit more direct, and the approach it has taken starts with a smaller engine. Ducati has done some brilliant scaling down jobs in the past with something like the Panigale 959, which is more manageable and, dare I say, more fun than the 1299, and even the Monster 821, which we like more than the 1200. So that's exactly the route Ducati took with the Multistrada. It plunked in a smaller 937 cubic centimeters L-twin engine, from the Hypermotard and Supersport, and cut back on some of the more high-tech features. The end result is 113 HP of power on tap and 96.2 nanometers of torque. It doesn't get the 2 spark plugs per cylinder from the 1200 either, nor does it get desmodromic variable timing. Gone is the 1200's absolute ferocious acceleration, which was enough to put the fear of God in riders who got too excited with the throttle. That's not to say that the 950 is a slouch. Open the tap and the bike briskly builds velocity, all thanks to 80% of the motor's 96.2 nanometers of torque being available right from 3,500 RPM. Our test ride in Fuerteventura in Spain's Canary Islands provided plenty of opportunities to test the motor's tractability at slow city speeds, and even when in slightly higher gears, the bike would pull away without the need for any clutch inputs. This same bottom and mid-range tractability also make for good thrust coming out of tight corners. For outright blasts on stretches of straight roads, the 950's motor performs quite admirably up to speeds of 160 km per hour. Beyond that, of course, it's quick, but don't expect the kind of peppiness you get from the 1200. In almost all conditions, the 950's performance is far from disappointing. However, for those seeking sheer thrills, the larger motorcycle would be the one to go for. It's not like the 950 is low on electronics. The bike gets the Ducati Safety Pack that features Bosch's 9.1 MP3 level ABS as well as an 8-level Ducati Traction Control (DTC). The bike also gets 4 riding modes: Sport, Touring, Urban and Enduro, the first 2 of which provide full power but different throttle responses, while the last 2 dial back the motor to about 75 HP. Each mode also has its own presets for how much the ABS and DTC are allowed to intervene. The Enduro mode, for example, has been designed for off-road riding, and it drops the ABS to level 1, which doesn't intervene with the rear wheel at all. The DTC is switched to level 2, allowing for spinning up the rear wheel enough to let the bike slide through dirt. The roads we were on, albeit a little abrasive, were bump-free for the most part. But we did encounter some dusty sections up in the mountains and a couple of places with gravel strewn across the road. Even in sport mode, there was almost no occasion where we could feel the electronics cut in, where the rear felt like it wanted to let go with hard throttle openings, or where the front felt odd during hard braking. A lot of this is also down to the fantastic Pirelli Scorpion Trail 2 tires, which offered plenty of grip at all times. However, what's notably absent on this bike is the IMU, inertial measurement unit, from the big Multistrada. So the traction control and ABS rely purely on wheel speed information rather than reading the bike's attitude along multiple axes. The DTC on the 950 doesn't have the same finesse as the 1200's, nor is there any cornering ABS. And as there's no wheelie control either, we could pop fun, little wheelies when gassing it a bit hard coming over crests. But in all honesty, exercise just a smidgen of common sense while riding and you can happily do without all these top-spec electronic nannies on the M950. Ducati has also ditched the 1200's cutting-edge skyhook electronically adjustable suspension on this bike. The 950's suspension is fully adjustable though, it's just that you need to manually change the setup. No on-the-fly stuff like that on the big Multistrada. You do get a healthy 170 mm of suspension travel at both ends, and the bike is very well sprung, so riding on rough roads won't be an issue. That said, The stock setup for the front is rather soft, and applying brakes into a corner to avoid a slower rider causes the bike to almost violently stand up. And when braking in a straight line, the dive was quite pronounced as well. However, this is nothing that a little fine-tuning of the suspension, done by an expert, of course, can't sort out.